Life begins in the crushing grind of modern Tokyo, where corporate employee Takumi Haruka spends endless days buried beneath exhausting office work. 2 agonizing years at the exact same company had drained his spirit, trapped in mind-numbing routines, and forced to sacrifice countless hours to his demanding boss until midnight slipped past. Trudging home into the midnight dark, a throbbing headache punished his exhausted skull. Glancing down at his watch to check the late hour, painful exhaustion gave way to a warm memory, recalling the precious night he first welcomed his beloved companion into his home. Unlocking the front door instantly shattered the day's misery as the latch clicked open to release joyous paws scratching across the floor and the enthusiastic scampering of an energetic little dog. That fluffy, incredibly adorable ball of pure energy answered to the name Leo. Petting her on the floor, Takumi Haruka recalled choosing the fierce masculine name Leo for a strong male dog, only to discover later that his loyal companion was actually a sweet female. An unnatural tremor swept through his limbs, making him realize the violent shaking came from inside himself. A harsh tumble threw him to the floor, opening his eyes to a completely transformed world. He lay under an open sky beneath an ancient canopy of towering trees, greeted by the familiar sound of his loyal dog barking in the distance. Looking up in shock, an enormous wolf loomed over him, majestic and impossibly massive. The beast's giant snout filled his entire field of vision. Panic seized Takumi Haruka as he gasped that wolves this immense could not exist, bracing his trembling body for an immediate, lethal attack from the beast. Instead of tearing into flesh, the giant creature extended a warm tongue for an affectionate lick. That gentle gesture, combined with those unmistakable, innocent eyes, sparked a stunning realization. This colossal, mythical wolf standing before him was none other than his precious Leo. His tiny puppy had undergone a breathtaking transformation into a titan. She carried herself with majestic, heroic bravery. He wondered if this was all a dream. Given her massive size, he decided to climb aboard and ride on her broad back. The enormous creature understood instantly and happily lowered her back. Harsh survival concerns in this unfamiliar wilderness quickly demanded attention. Lost in an endless sea of trees, Takumi Haruka desperately needed fresh water, painfully aware his modern desk skills were useless out here. Leo showcased keen tracking instincts, leading him directly to a clear stream. Heartfelt gratitude poured out for his giant protector. They paused to rest. He apologized to Leo for neglecting her during his corporate overtime days. Taking in the serene beauty of the sunlit woods, he realized years had passed since he last experienced such profound, unburdened peace. Peace shattered when Leo tensed at a distant scent, alerting Takumi Haruka to a repulsive two-legged pig creature stomping through the foliage. Its repulsive form was unmistakable, an orc, known only from fantasy games. The monster faced Leo in a charge. Unleashing immense power, she crushed the monster instantly, leaving Takumi Haruka stunned by the surreal spectacle. Embracing the bizarre situation with dark humor, he roasted carved meat from the fallen monster. The roasted cut tasted remarkably savory. They tracked the winding riverbank toward an exit from FENRIR forest. Her cheerful gait signaled absolute confidence in their trail. A distant scream pierced the woods, prompting the kind-hearted Takumi Haruka to rush toward the danger, hoping whoever needed rescue might possess a map to lead them out of the wilderness. They found a young noblewoman cornered by another monstrous orc. The presence of Leo terrified the beast. Rushing forward, he confirmed the lady was unharmed. Dressed in refined aristocratic garments, she offered heartfelt gratitude for her daring rescue. Struck by her striking beauty, he listened in surprise as she identified Leo as a silver Fenrir and asked if this mythical beast was his bonded partner. The title baffled him, forcing him to improvise a quick response. Takumi Haruka rolled with the misunderstanding, accepting the role of master to a silver Fenrir. This confirmed his theory that he had crossed into a fantasy RPG realm in the New World. Drawing on deep lore, the noble lady hailed the silver Fenrir as a sacred creature of legend. She emphasized that these apex predators stand unrivaled, refusing to serve mere humans. Blessed with wind-like speed, they unleash fireballs from their jaws, rend any defense with razor claws, and shatter all weapons with mighty fangs. Their silver coats revered as symbols of power. That sacred might makes the noble beast the proud emblem adorning the royal crest. Hearing such grand mythic lore, Takumi Haruka proudly insisted the divine beast remained his loyal friend Leo, presenting himself as an ordinary office worker with no special pedigree. He watched the noble lady gasp in shock, declaring no common mortal could ever forge a bond with a silver Fenrir. Convinced, she stood before a renowned hero. Claire Libert listened as Takumi Haruka maintained his humble identity and shared his name. Introducing herself in return with noble formality, Claire Libert revealed her full name and repeated her deepest gratitude for the rescue. Standing calmly beside Takumi Haruka, the magnificent wolf Leo watched as Claire Libert expressed profound relief, repeating her formal gratitude after the terrifying encounter with the orc. Urging an end to rigid etiquette, Claire Libert asked Takumi Haruka to drop all stiff titles. Still adjusting to this surreal realm, Takumi Haruka agreed to the simple, informal address. Once the danger cleared, Takumi Haruka questioned why Claire Libert had ventured into the perilous woods alone, prompting her to explain her urgent search for vital medicinal plants. After ruthless orcs spooked her horse and left her stranded, Takumi Haruka realized the deadly danger was real, prompting Claire Libert to ask what brought him and summon Leo into this forest. Lacking a plausible tale for his arrival in this new world, Takumi Haruka gave a vague reply, explaining he simply woke in the woods without knowing why, and had wandered the woods ever since. Despite the unusual explanation, Claire Libert accepted his story without pressing, her attention thoroughly captivated by the mighty silver FENRIR. Stepping forward with an earnest plea, Claire Libert asked for an important favor, and Takumi Haruka, deeply grateful for her explanation about Leo, agreed to assist without hesitation. A grateful smile lit Claire Libert, who offered heartfelt thanks. The straightforward task required searching for the medicinal herb, as Claire Libert provided critical details regarding where the valuable plant grew. Rumors suggested the rare herb grew close to the forest river. Finding nothing along the riverbanks, Takumi Haruka watched Leo track the ground and guessed the herb was common mugwort from Claire Libert's description, though its real name differed. Continuing their search along the riverbanks, guarded by the majestic silver FENRIR, the companions wandered for hours without spotting a single sprout. Fatigue soon set in, prompting the group to take a brief rest. During their quiet rest, an extraordinary event unfolded as a fresh cluster of the medicinal herbs sprouted from the rich soil directly before Takumi Haruka. Startled by the miraculous growth, Takumi Haruka set his confusion aside and called out with pure excitement to Claire Libert, announcing the discovery to her absolute overjoyed relief. Identifying the plant as capwort, Claire Libert thanked Takumi Haruka, crediting the success to his help. Though amazed by the mysterious event, Takumi Haruka answered with humble grace, glad to offer assistance and insisting it was no trouble at all. With the vital capwort secured, travel became their next major hurdle, as Claire Libert had lost her horse and the dense forest stretched far in every direction. Sensing their difficult predicament, Leo barked and waited expectantly, prompting Takumi Haruka to ask whether the massive wolf intended for both of them to ride upon her back. The majestic silver FENRIR agreed, and Claire Libert, addressing Leo with deep reverence, gladly accepted the extraordinary ride. Mounting the noble silver FENRIR, Takumi Haruka and Claire Libert held fast as Leo bounded forward with ferocious speed, delivering a breathtaking and unbelievable journey through the wild. Shouting over the rushing wind, Takumi Haruka asked Leo if she knew the path. Claire Libert provided directions, pointing right toward an approaching road. Following the winding road, they burst out of the dense woods onto sweeping, open plains that stretched as far as the eye could see. The wild landscape felt alien to Takumi Haruka's city past. Riding atop a legendary beast alongside Claire Libert across unfamiliar lands provided the final proof. Takumi Haruka was not dreaming, but living an authentic journey in the new world. Their rapid gallop soon brought them before an imposing iron gate where Claire Libert called for a halt, and Leo obediently stopped before the entrance. Seeing their young mistress mounted atop a silver FENRIR alarmed the armored guards, but before they could attack the legendary beast, Claire Libert sharply commanded them to stand down. Addressing the bewildered guards, Claire Libert firmly instructed them to treat the silver FENRIR as an honored guest and show the creature full respect. Dismounting, Claire Libert invited Takumi Haruka inside. Gazing past the iron gates at the sprawling estate, Takumi Haruka marveled at the grand architecture, finally grasping the aristocratic prominence of Claire Libert and the Libert family. Outside the massive stone walls of the Libert family estate, Leo waited calmly as Sebastian, the dignified and visibly anxious butler, rushed out to greet his young mistress Claire Libert. Deeply relieved to see Claire Libert unharmed, Sebastian admitted his sheer despair had tragedy struck, prompting her to apologize for the scare and ask about her sister Tellura Libert. Sebastian brought grim news that Tellura Libert remained bedridden with a dangerous fever, prompting Claire Libert to hand over the harvested capwort for her sister's immediate recovery. Recounting the terrifying ordeal, Claire Libert described how a ferocious orc had trapped her and brought her near death before Takumi Haruka boldly stepped in to save her life. Bowing low in formal greeting, Sebastian expressed boundless gratitude, but Takumi Haruka humbly brushed the praise aside as nothing special, insisting that true gratitude belonged to Leo. Learning the legendary beast was Takumi Haruka's companion shattered Sebastian's composure, sending a ripple of shock across his face. Recognizing the beast as a silver FENRIR, Sebastian spoke of its great power. Recalling how Leo tore through the orc, Sebastian explained the creature's mythic importance, honoring the silver FENRIR as the invincible royal crest of the kingdom. Sebastian viewed the concept of binding such a legendary monster under a familiar contract as impossible to believe, protecting their mutual bond. Takumi Haruka corrected Sebastian, rejecting terms like taming and explaining that Leo was a trusted companion rather than a creature bound by a familiar contract. Takumi Haruka explained he simply took her in years ago, deepening the butler's confusion. Joining the conversation in utter bewilderment, Claire Libert wondered how someone could simply adopt a young silver FENRIR without confronting its ferocious parents in the forest. Recounting how he found Leo as an abandoned puppy in a cardboard box by the road, Takumi Haruka left Claire Libert staring with disbelief, wondering what kind of enigmatic figure he truly was. Fortunately for Takumi Haruka, Claire Libert paused her questions, declaring that the immediate health of Tellura Libert was paramount and that further inquiries could wait for later. Claire Libert orders Sebastian to warmly welcome their guest, who not only saved her life in the woods, but also secured the vital capwort. Sebastian ushers Takumi Haruka Haruka into the magnificent Libert family mansion. Staff members bow with formal greetings, leaving Takumi Haruka used only to small apartments in awe. Stunned by the immense entrance hall and towering corridors, he watches a crowd of maids and attendants gather to greet Claire Libert. Staff members offer heartfelt gratitude to Takumi Haruka and Leo for rescuing their lady. Two maids named Layla and Gelda introduce themselves politely. Both receive orders to ensure Takumi Haruka and Leo want for nothing. Learning that Claire Libert braved the deadly woods solely to save her sick sister Takumi Haruka feels profound respect for her genuine selflessness. Concerned about lodging for his companion, he finds instant reassurance from Layla. The maid confirms that hosting Leo presents no issue, with ample room across the estate. Escorted into an opulent private parlor, Takumi Haruka and Leo find themselves surrounded by exquisite furniture and undeniable aristocratic wealth. His ingrained Japanese habit of avoiding any fuss resurfaces, leaving Takumi Haruka feeling distinctly out of place in such lavish grandeur. Resting on the couch, he strokes the massive head of the silver Fenrir curled at his feet, struck anew by the surreal truth that his once tiny pup has transformed into a colossal beast. Now an honored, mannered guest, he marvels at how fantasy tropes have become his reality. Layla and Gelda return bearing refreshments, balancing a tray of fine porcelain tea. With astounding gentleness, Leo extends her muzzle and delicately lifts a cup off the tray. Such refined beastly manners prove too startling for Gelda, who gasps and drops her saucer. Takumi Haruka quickly rushes to apologize, reassuring the terrified maid that giant Leo is intimidating but will never bite, prompting Layla to deliver a stern rebuke to Gelda for rudeness. Observing those polite actions, Layla defends the mighty silver Fenrir, pointing out that despite her massive frame, the noble creature accepted tea quietly so as not to cause any fright. A playful remark from Takumi Haruka comparing Gelda to adorable Leo eases the maid's nerves. Claire Libert returns after delivering the capwort to her sister. Takumi Haruka inquires about Tellura Libert, and Claire Libert assures him the remedy is already at work, offering heartfelt gratitude for his immense help. Claire Libert turns to Takumi Haruka, asking the inevitable question regarding his true origins. She openly confesses total bewilderment over how Takumi Haruka commands a majestic silver Fenrir, yet knows nothing of its divine status, utterly stunned by his complete ignorance of monsters. Owing him her life, she asks out of sincere curiosity, yet noticing his obvious discomfort, Claire Libert softly promises never to pressure Takumi Haruka if the truth makes him feel uneasy. Pointing to his unusual foreign attire, she declares with absolute conviction that no matter how bizarre or impossible his origins might sound, Claire Libert will place full trust in him. Her faith stems from witnessing Leo follow him with absolute devotion and boundless trust. Moved by her sincerity, Takumi Haruka decides to share the whole unvarnished truth. He starts his chronicle from the moment he opened his eyes inside the forest. Addressing his mysterious origins, Takumi Haruka slowly unravels the incredible tale of his accidental transport into an unfamiliar realm. He describes Leo as a tiny puppy in his former world, rescued from an abandoned cardboard box. Upon crossing over, Takumi Haruka explains, his tiny pup underwent an instant mutation, granted miraculous power in this new world that transformed her into the legendary silver Fenrir. Claire Libert admits no record exists of a common dog becoming a silver Fenrir, yet Takumi Haruka speaks with such pure honesty that she listens eagerly as he describes his new world shift. Referencing modern fiction where humans vanish into other dimensions, he stresses the stark contrast between worlds, noting savage beasts like orcs existed only in fantasy books back home. Sebastian steps forward with visible concern, questioning the outlandish nature of the tale. Without hesitation, Claire Libert dismisses every doubt, declaring that Takumi Haruka has proven his integrity through brave deeds and unquestionable honesty, earning her complete faith. Heartened by such trust, Takumi Haruka gratefully accepts the invitation to lodge at the Libert family mansion, having nowhere else to turn in this strange land. Claire Libert immediately directs Sebastian and the maids to prepare a comfortable guest suite for Takumi Haruka without the slightest delay. Extending hospitality, Claire Libert excitedly plans a welcome feast for the pair. Asked about preferred treats for Leo, Takumi Haruka mentions sausages to an ecstatic bark before turning the discussion toward the riddle of how fresh capwort instantly dried within his hands. Claire Libert urges everyone to first verify whether the dried herb retains its healing power. Once Sebastian confirms Tellura Libert will recover, attention returns to the dried herb mystery. Sebastian and the maids explain how unique talents are revered as divine blessings from the gods. The butler elaborates that these blessings are exceedingly rare, bestowed on 1 in a million newborns. Such blessed individuals master extraordinary feats. A gift in smithing creates blades capable of slicing through solid steel, whereas an arcane blessing grants boundless magical power. Sebastian emphasizes that authentic gift wielders exist only in ancient historical records, making the living presence of Takumi Haruka an extraordinary marvel. The elderly butler deduces that the instant drying of the capwort is no standard spellcraft, since incantations designed solely to dehydrate vegetation remain entirely unheard of. He concludes that Takumi Haruka must have received a divine gift the moment he arrived. Sebastian suggests using a magical appraisal artifact to identify this unique unique ability. Appraisal plans are happily postponed for a lavish dinner, after which everyone returns to the sitting room to discuss the fundamental mechanics of magic. Takumi explains to his hosts that magic does not exist where he came from. It only existed in fictional stories, prompting an eager Sebastian to step forward and explain the fundamental nature of this new realm. The butler teaches Takumi that magic channels the mana inside every living body, an essential life energy that no creature can survive without. Casting a spell requires a chant, which dictates the power and precise outcome. Sebastian outlines the 4 core elements of magic: fire, water, wind, and earth. A quick demonstration of fire magic impresses Takumi, yet raises an immediate doubt, pointing out a glaring practical weakness. Takumi notes that reciting long chants for powerful spells leaves a caster completely defenseless during a direct, ferocious monster attack. Sebastian reveals advanced methods to bypass this, such as voiceless chants. A sharp knock cuts the lecture short as the younger sister of Claire bounds straight into the room. Cured by the dried capwort, young Talura arrived eager to thank the heroic guest who had saved Claire and secured the life-saving medicine. Radiating boundless energy, Talura announces with beaming joy that she has never felt better, leaving Claire utterly astonished that the herbal medicine cured her younger sister so quickly. Introducing herself as Talura Libert, the cheerful girl thanks Takumi for rescuing Claire and discovering the vital medicinal herb that saved her life, offering his own name. Takumi Haruka warmly asks the young noble to drop stiff titles and call him Takumi. Relieved yet firm, Claire urges her sister back to bed, but a bored Talura marvels at the magnificent white wolf, asking if it is a dog until Claire reveals that Leo is a silver FENRIR. Stepping in to introduce Leo by name, Takumi proudly emphasizes their deep bond as partners. Delighted, Talura asks Claire for permission to touch the majestic FENRIR, and Takumi gladly grants the request, knowing Leo loves playing with children. Talura runs over and strokes the massive head, which Leo warmly welcomes. Sebastian enters to pause the playtime, gently escorting Talura back to her bedroom to rest. Before departing, a glowing Talura turns back to thank Takumi and Leo for bringing so much joy to her sister, allowing Takumi to finally retire to the luxurious guest room Layla prepared. He rests in the lavish bed as Leo sleeps soundly beside him. Reflecting in the quiet room, Takumi realizes this journey has lasted far too long to be a mere dream, forcing him to accept the undeniable truth that he is now living in another world. Morning arrives without an alarm clock, waking Takumi to the sound of Leo barking softly. A startled Takumi finds Claire already in his room to bid him good morning. Still half asleep, he sheepishly teases Leo for failing to give him an earlier wake-up call. Claire invites him to breakfast in the dining room, but before they can leave, an energetic Talura arrives eager to play with Leo, charming Takumi with her deep affection for his partner. Talura insists that Takumi drop every stiff formality, maintaining that since he is an amazing person and the master of a legendary FENRIR, she should be the one to give him full respect. Flustered by her grand praise, Takumi gets ready for breakfast, only to encounter a brand new dilemma. Rubbing his prickly chin, Takumi notes the irony of possessing neither a simple razor nor a fresh change of clothes in this fantasy realm, leaving him unprepared for the grand breakfast. Fixing this predicament requires a quiet word with Sebastian. Seated before a lavish breakfast spread, Takumi discreetly signals to get the attention of Sebastian. Apologizing for the imposition, Takumi whispers a modest request to Sebastian, asking for clean clothes and tools to shave off his scruff. Sebastian apologizes for overlooking the guest's basic needs and promises to deliver the items shortly. Finishing her meal, Talura asks Claire if she can take Leo out to play in the garden. Claire gladly agrees, and Takumi excuses himself from the table, promising to join them out in the garden as soon as he finishes his morning grooming. Layla arrives at the guest quarters carrying fresh clothes and grooming supplies, leaving Takumi dumbfounded when she hands him a simple blade to shave his face. Examining the blade, he wonders if he must truly shave with a knife. With painstaking caution, Takumi scrapes away the coarse stubble, enduring an awkward, scratchy irritation from the primitive shaving method. Stepping outside clean-shaven and dressed in sharp new attire, Takumi receives an enthusiastic welcome from Claire and Talura, who joyfully praise him as an entirely transformed man. Bursting with bright energy, Talura sprints ahead to romp with Leo, creating a heartwarming scene on the lush estate grounds. Takumi watches with deep satisfaction as Sebastian joins them, expressing heartfelt relief to see young Talura restored to full health. Claire playfully teases the elderly butler for his endless worrying, promising to spare him such dramatic panic whenever future troubles arise. Chuckling, Takumi tells Claire that her thoughtful concern is simply part of her natural charm. Caught off guard by the unexpected compliment, Claire blushes and falls into stunned silence. The morning after his origins were revealed, a grand carriage departs the Libert estate bound for Raktos, carrying Claire, an eager Talura riding inside the coach, Sebastian, and Takumi. Clean-shaven and dressed in his sharp new outfit, Takumi rides within the carriage, experiencing a blend of quiet gratitude and lingering unease. Claire insists the journey serves a practical goal, visiting the market to purchase daily necessities and proper tailored attire for Takumi. When Takumi questions the mounting expenses, Claire brushes his worries aside, assuring him funds are no issue. As the carriage rumbles steadily along the rocky path, Takumi turns his thoughts back to the mysterious gift he discovered discovered upon reaching this world. Apologizing for his curiosity, Takumi asks if they can appraise his unknown ability in Rakdos, and Claire confirms they will examine his gift right after buying clothes, leaving him curious. Claire explains that certain prodigies manifest innate power from birth, whereas people from families lacking gifted bloodlines often awaken their dormant magical abilities much later in life. True worth lies never in raw power alone, but in how a person chooses to wield their gift, a shared belief that guided their path forward. Reaching the outskirts before the main gate, the carriage driver halts the horses and asks Takumi Haruka to wait patiently in his seat, stepping through the gate into Rakdos. Takumi Haruka marvels at the overwhelming roar of the crowd, stunned by how packed and bustling the grand streets are. Claire Libert explains the fortress town's true value. Rakdos stands as the sole secure passage connecting travelers through dangerous surrounding lands. Dangerous wilds surround them on every front. FENRIR forest spans across the south and west where Takumi Haruka first woke, and monster-infested mountains wall off the northern border. Their first stop is the bustling central market. Here, the noble Libert family regularly buys their fresh food and cooking supplies. Drifting aromas instantly catch the nose of Leo, and the silver FENRIR trembles with pure delight at a sausage stall, nearly dragging Takumi Haruka off his feet in her wild excitement. Claire Libert chuckles knowingly, warning that Leo craves sausages so fiercely that they must always brace for a mad charge the instant food catches the beast's eye. Arriving to escort the group, Sebastian raises their first urgent task, outfitting Takumi Haruka with proper attire, by paying an immediate visit to the local tailor. Inside the shop, Claire Libert requests custom-made garments, but Takumi Haruka flinches at the thought of such an extravagant expense. Flustered, he insists that simple off-the-rack garments suit him perfectly. Claire Libert freezes in pure bewilderment, asking in total disbelief whether clothes bought straight from a rack even exist in this realm. Having worn custom bespoke outfits her entire life, Claire Libert listens as Hardin the tailor steps in to explain that ordinary commoners routinely rely on standard ready-made clothing sizes. Takumi Haruka stands firm on off-the-rack attire, arguing that accepting a lavish custom wardrobe would leave him feeling burdened by an overwhelming debt to the Libert family. Escorted by 2 armored guards, the party leaves the boutique. 6 street ruffians block their way, drawn by the lavish robes of Claire Libert. Judging Takumi Haruka to be completely defenseless, the bandit leader announces that his purse is empty and demands all their valuables. Before the guards can draw steel, Leo steps forward, and the silver FENRIR unleashes a ferocious glare that paralyzes the thugs with fear. Desperate to prove his courage, one thug lunges ahead. Struck hard by a projectile, Leo spits from her maw. The attacker crashes down as the mythic beast shatters the entire gang's morale, leaving every bandit slumped on the ground in terror. Takumi Haruka gently pats Leo on the head with a fond scold, reminding the beast never to chew on filthy garbage that is not meant as food. Inquiring if street thugs are common in Rakdos, he learns from Claire Libert that opportunistic bandits routinely prey upon unsuspecting travelers and merchants. She admits she expected the patrol to stay far sharper. The town guard hurries over with hasty apologies, and Claire Libert orders them to haul the beaten thugs into custody. Claire Libert apologizes for dragging Leo into violence, but Takumi Haruka reassures her with a gentle smile, noting that the great white wolf leaped into the confrontation entirely on her own. Just as the party resumes their shopping, a young woman steps forward from the gathering crowd, politely asking Takumi Haruka if he can spare a brief moment. Their town outing takes an unexpected turn as the young woman, emboldened by the calm and docile posture of the silver FENRIR, cautiously walks toward Takumi Haruka. Surrounding onlookers confirm 2 incredible truths. The noble lady standing before them is Claire Libert, and the towering white beast at her side is an authentic, mythical silver FENRIR. Introducing herself as Nora, the woman shares a startling memory. She previously witnessed the mighty beast effortlessly snap an iron sword in half with her jaws, politely correcting the onlookers. Takumi Haruka insists that Leo is his equal partner rather than a beast under a familiar contract, reassuring the gathering crowd of her gentle nature. With a quiet command, Takumi Haruka bids Leo lie down, and the FENRIR settles at his boots as Claire Libert highlights how peacefully the giant beast has walked through these crowded streets. Nora apologizes for her earlier fear and bravely reaches out to stroke the mythical silver FENRIR, gasping in absolute wonder at how soft and velvety the thick white fur feels to the touch. Takumi Haruka accepts her apology with a warm smile, instantly dissolving the lingering hesitation of the surrounding townspeople. A joyful commotion erupts as curious locals crowd around to stroke the majestic wolf. Their shopping grinds to a complete halt for nearly 2 hours until the happy crowd disperses. With the square finally cleared, Claire Libert leads Takumi Haruka to their next stop, the finest general merchant shop in Rakdos. Awestruck by the building's massive scale, Takumi Haruka marvels at what must be the grandest emporium in the entire town. Inside, they meet the proprietor Hein, whose vast inventory ranges from rare foodstuffs and polished accessories to forged weapons. Browsing the sundries, Takumi Haruka spots an ornate display of pocket watches that reveals a striking difference about life in this new world. Observing that the timepieces lack minute and second hands, he listens as Claire Libert explains a fundamental truth. Minutes and seconds are completely foreign concepts in this new world. Each clock face counts up to 14 hours and cycles twice, creating a 28-hour day. Takumi Haruka deduces that either local time units differ fundamentally from Earth, or the entire planet spins at a significantly slower rotational speed. He decides to buy a pocket watch and a table clock from Hein to study the strange system. Eager to express his deep gratitude to the Libert family for their warm hospitality, Takumi Haruka selects several exquisite accessories to present to them as heartfelt gifts. Overhearing his plan, Sebastian steps in to clarify that all his purchases were meant to be drawn from the monetary reward Takumi Haruka earned for rescuing Claire Libert. Though grateful for the generous gesture, personal pride drives Takumi Haruka to insist that even if he takes the goods today, he will repay every coin to the Libert family in the future. Stepping out of the shop, Takumi Haruka reflects on the hours spent in Raktos, stretched long because Leo became an instant sensation among the captivated townspeople. He recalls the second vital goal of their excursion, evaluating his herb cultivation. Claire Libert acknowledges the lost time, but checking the hour reassures Takumi Haruka that they can still visit the guild appraiser to uncover the true nature of his mysterious herb cultivation. Walking down the street for a mana evaluation, Takumi Haruka and the party reach a gray building marked by a black plaque with a white pentagram, an ominous design giving his companions the creeps. Stepping inside, the door swings open with a loud, resounding crush-ox sound. Inside, the mana analyst greets the party with a simple hello, immediately scolding them for their tardiness. The old woman sternly snaps that he took his sweet time, declaring he should know far better than to keep an elderly lady waiting. Offering a polite apology to Isabel, one of the male companions explains that an unforeseen incident along the road held them up and delayed their scheduled arrival. Acknowledging the greeting, Isabel, the mana analyst, welcomes them inside, wishing the group a good evening as she prepares for the evaluation. Turning her gaze directly toward Takumi Haruka, the main subject of the visit, she correctly identifies him as the client seeking a complete mana analysis. She explains that the upcoming test will help analyze his unique gift. Isabel instructs Takumi Haruka to place his hand on the crystal ball with confidence. Resting in a bowl-like basin, the orb waits as Takumi Haruka places his hand over it. Bright, tiny sparks of light begin bursting from the crystal ball in his hand, flickering with soft crackles. These sparks demonstrate a clear reaction, confirming the presence of mana to begin the test. Isabel watches the bright spectacle with a warm smile, announcing that Takumi Haruka possesses an abundant quantity of mana. Isabel advises that with dedicated training he could develop into quite an accomplished practitioner of the magical arts. Fixing her sharp gaze upon Takumi Haruka, the old woman makes a profound observation, asking outright if he is the holder of a special gift. With the mana analysis verified, Isabel identifies his unique power as herb cultivation, explaining that, true to its name, the gift grants Takumi Haruka the ability to sprout weeds and herbs. Curious about the revelation, Claire Libert asks for more details regarding how the power works. Isabel clarifies his capability further, noting that Takumi Haruka can cultivate nearly any variety of wild plant that is not a farm crop. Issuing a critical warning, Isabel notes that the magical growth only functions provided the intended herb is placed within its natural habitat. Referencing past events to test the theory, Sebastian asks Claire Libert whether she believes the power of Takumi Haruka played an active role in their recent discovery out in the wild. Sebastian points out that the entire search party failed to find the target plant, yet the moment Takumi Haruka touched the ground, he located one almost instantly. Asked whether this miracle applied to their Capwort find, Claire Libert confirms his suspicion, agreeing that this had certainly been her assumption during the crisis. Looking satisfied that the story matches her analysis, Isabel concludes he possesses a fine gift, though Takumi Haruka still holds back an untold detail he neglected to share with Claire Libert. He reveals that the herb actually sprouted from the soil right between his fingers, an instant manifestation occurring the moment he began imagining the distinct characteristics of Capwort. The topic shifts as Claire Libert eagerly asks if Takumi Haruka dried the Capwort, prompting Isabel to interject with surprise that the harvested leaves dried out right after he picked them. Admitting he wished the herb would dry faster, Takumi Haruka learns from Isabel that his rare power also includes the ability to alter a plant's physical state to match whatever he desires. Weighing his unusual ability, Takumi Haruka wonders, with slight uncertainty, whether producing non-crop plants on demand is an amazingly convenient blessing or merely a niche, mundane skill. Stressing the heavy responsibility of his power, Isabel offers parting counsel, urging Takumi Haruka to think carefully because unlocking its full potential depends entirely on how he acts. With the evaluation finished and his gift recognized as special, Takumi Haruka returns to the mansion with the group, where an estate servant formally welcomes both him and Claire Libert home. The attendant announces that dinner is ready to be served, instructing Takumi Haruka and Leo to drop their belongings in their room before dinner. The servant marks the close of an evening spent unlocking the full truth behind herb cultivation. Sharing a quiet moment of affection with his massive canine companion Leo, Takumi Haruka breathes a contented sigh as he gives the great wolf a gentle, reassuring pat. Thrust into a new world, Takumi Haruka finds deep reassurance beside Leo. Calling out to Leo, he warmly praises her exemplary behavior throughout their visit to the town. Ruffling her thick fur, Takumi Haruka praises Leo for staying gentle around friendly townsfolk and fearlessly crushing the thugs who ambushed them, filling him with boundless confidence. With Leo by his side, he stands ready to confront whatever trials this new world throws his way. A sharp knock interrupts the moment, prompting Takumi Haruka to compose himself just as the maid Layla opens the door to announce that Claire Libert awaits his presence in the dining hall. Finishing dinner in the dining hall, Takumi Haruka enthusiastically praises the delicious feast after cleaning his plate completely, leaving the delighted head chef beaming at the high compliment. The proud chef replies that nothing brings greater satisfaction than seeing a guest truly enjoy the cooking. Takumi Haruka begins a conversation with Claire Libert, recalling how he shared his story yesterday. He asks if she would be willing to tell him more about herself today. Caught off guard, Claire Libert hesitates to discuss her personal life. Persisting, Takumi Haruka asks why she manages such a grand villa on her own and why local townsfolk treat her with profound reverence. Explaining her independence, Claire Libert reveals that establishing her own separate household was an active effort to create distance for herself and Tellura Libert from Duke Eckenhart Libert. Though Takumi Haruka calls it extreme, Claire Libert explains that Duke Eckenhart Libert smothered them with daily marriage proposals, once forcing her to reject 5 suitors in a single day. Her frustration peaked when Duke Eckenhart Libert escalated matters, pushing marriage suitors onto 10-year-old Tellura Libert as well. Driven by the sheer absurdity of the ongoing situation, Claire Libert unleashes all her grievances, venting about Duke Eckenhart Libert for an entire half hour. Clearing her throat, Claire Libert offers an apology, admitting the outburst was unbecoming. Steering the conversation back on track, Takumi Haruka asks why the local townsfolk hold her in such high regard and address her with so much deep respect. Answering his question, Claire Libert reveals that her father, Duke Eckenhart Libert of the Libert family, rules the entire surrounding territory, including the prosperous town of Raktos. Claire Libert drops a bombshell by revealing the Libert family holds ducal rank under Duke Eckenhart Libert. As Takumi Haruka reels in utter shock, she begins explaining the full noble hierarchy. From the apex, the hierarchy descends from ducal rank to Marquis, Margrave, Count, Viscount, and Baron. Takumi Haruka freezes, stunned by how casually he had addressed such a high-ranking aristocrat. Panicking, Takumi Haruka offers humble apologies for his informal tone toward Claire Libert. Claire Libert quickly puts him at ease, warmly urging him to continue speaking with her just as before. She invites him to stay informal, welcoming the exact same easy warmth he shares with Tellura Libert. After a brief pause, Takumi Haruka honors the request of Claire Libert and drops the stiff honorifics. As a traveler in this new world, Takumi Haruka uncovers a deeper mystery connecting his companion Leo to the sacred legends surrounding the Silver Fenrir. Claire Libert recalls their earlier discussion about the royal crest, which features a majestic silver Fenrir, presenting her house emblem. Claire Libert explains that the Libert family bears a distinct crest, depicting a ferocious silver Fenrir, bearing sharp fangs and teeth. That fearsome posture symbolizes their unyielding resolve to crush any foe in their path. Long ago, an alliance with a silver Fenrir led the Libert family to victory in countless wars, prompting the grateful kingdom to elevate the Libert family into the highest ranks of proud nobility. Honoring this heritage, the Libert family has revered the silver Fenrir across generations. Claire Libert notes that given such deep historical roots, almost everyone across the entire realm knows about the legendary silver Fenrir. This ancient lore clarifies why Leo possesses such majestic power, yet just as Takumi Haruka reflects on this revelation, an unexpected interruption halts their discussion at its peak. Sebastian, the gentleman who previously excused the mana appraisal delay for Callus, signals to Takumi Haruka and politely asks for a private moment aside. Leaning close, Sebastian asks if Takumi Haruka prepared the promised gift. Takumi Haruka reacts with wide eyes as the reminder clicks. Rejoining Claire Libert and young Tellura Libert, Takumi Haruka brings 2 wrapped gifts. Growing flustered, Takumi Haruka stammers that he wanted to show gratitude for their incredible hospitality, choosing items he knew would look absolutely perfect on Claire Libert and Tellura Libert. Presenting gifts to Claire Libert and Tellura Libert, Takumi Haruka asks them to accept the tokens, promising to try speaking casually with Claire Libert despite old habits and hoping she loves it. Unwrapping the hairpin, Claire Libert gasps in delight at its beauty. Pleased by her reaction, Takumi Haruka compliments how radiant the hairpin makes Claire Libert, causing her to blush in flustered embarrassment as he looks forward to their deepening comfort. Watching the exchange with a fond sigh, Sebastian reflects on how Takumi Haruka thrives amidst high nobility, ancient history, and the majestic secret Silver Fenrir in this grand new journey. Eager to master the botanical lore of the new world, Takumi Haruka pores over a guide to medicinal flora, selecting a specific illustration and resolving to test his magical powers upon it. Approaching Claire Libert, Takumi Haruka politely asks for permission to use the garden. Claire Libert assumes he simply wants outdoor space to play with Leo, but Takumi Haruka clarifies his true intent to test the magical power of herb cultivation. Takumi Haruka explains his desire to discover what botanical varieties he can produce with herb cultivation, aiming to cultivate valuable medicinal herbs. Understanding his goal, Claire Libert happily grants him full access to the estate grounds. Focusing on his target specimen, Takumi Haruka Haruka recalls how the botanical guide describes lo, noting its thick serrated leaves and the remarkable restorative jelly stored within its flesh. The plant reminds Takumi Haruka of aloe vera from his original world. Effortlessly reading the foreign script, Takumi Haruka kneels down in the fertile soil, takes a deep breath, and focuses his mind to begin the trial. Extending a palm, Takumi Haruka triggers herb cultivation. Thick serrated leaves burst forth from the earth with vibrant rustles before the eyes of Claire Libert, Sebastian, and Tellura Libert. Amazed to see Takumi Haruka sprout a mature lo, Tellura Libert cheers with boundless excitement and Leo howls in delight as Sebastian studies the astounding feat in deep, silent astonishment. Sebastian asks Takumi Haruka if he realizes what plant he cultivated. Takumi Haruka confirms reading about lo, noting how closely it matches a healing plant from Earth. Sebastian reveals the extraordinary potency of lo. The sap from lo mends severe wounds in an instant. It closes bone-deep gashes without scarring, though it cannot restore someone suffering fatal trauma. Sebastian adds that wild habitats for lo remain undiscovered and it never grows in clusters unlike Earth flora, confirming its extraordinary rarity and immense market value in this world. Such astounding potency sparks a lucrative discussion, as Sebastian notes that the Libert family struggles to keep medicinal supplies in stock and welcomes every single herb Takumi Haruka produces. Grasping the value of herb cultivation, Takumi Haruka asks what one lo can fetch. Sebastian explains that a single stalk could buy a house, instantly prompting an idea from Claire Libert. Claire Libert asks whether Takumi Haruka wishes to open an apothecary shop, and he enthusiastically agrees, determined to generate an honest livelihood instead of freeloading on noble generosity. Offering noble backing, Claire Libert proposes a partnership where the Libert family manages marketing and logistics under Duke Eckenhart Libert, ensuring buyers never doubt product quality. Leveraging centuries of commercial mastery across domestic and foreign trade, the Libert family will direct every operation, providing Takumi Haruka with generous compensation in return. Claire Libert cautions that cultivating only lo would crash its high market price. Emphasizing that the choice belongs to Takumi Haruka, Claire Libert promises never to object if he prefers to run an independent herbal shop entirely on his own. Admitting his lack of merchant experience and zero desire to run a venture alone, Takumi Haruka gladly accepts the generous partnership with Claire Libert. Wary of Duke Eckenhart Libert and his relentless search for suitors, Claire Libert insists they finalize a binding contract before her father can interfere in the venture. Claire Libert prepared to face Duke Eckenhart Libert to deflect his absurd marriage demands right before a strange leaf and a warm bath. With business settled, Takumi Haruka lingered in the garden to study the book and inspect his gear. As Tellura Libert ran around the lawn with Leo, Takumi Haruka sought a plant capable of curing fatigue. Focusing his imagination, produced an unknown leaf never seen before in this realm, completely missing from the borrowed book. Setting the unknown leaf aside, he chose to investigate it later. A lighter moment followed as Leo ate a bowl of noodles, smearing meat sauce across her face. Observing the mess, Claire Libert declared that Leo urgently needed a bath. Claire Libert scolded that napkins could never wipe that sauce from a dirty muzzle, so Takumi Haruka laughingly tackled the loud, wet scrub, teasing Leo to brace for a huge splash of water. He washed her coat diligently, noting how filthy she had grown. Finally, he declared her spotless, praising Leo for enduring the wash. Afterward, Takumi Haruka soaked in the oversized tub himself, savoring the warm water that revived his tired body. Stepping out, Takumi Haruka secured the prompt help of the attendant to towel Leo dry, prompting Claire Libert to admire the gleaming hound and praise Takumi Haruka for a wonderful job. Claire Libert buried her face in the immaculate coat, praising how amazing Leo felt, and Takumi Haruka proudly agreed on her beauty right as conversation shifted toward a deeper quest ahead. Next, Claire Libert brought up ancient legends surrounding the silver FENRIR. Recalling the woods where Capwort grew and where they first met, Takumi Haruka listened as Claire Libert shared lore of the first head of the Libert family journeying through that same forest. Looking Takumi Haruka in the eyes, Claire Libert boldly asked if he and Leo would escort her into the deep forest, launching an adventure to uncover the land where their new life started. This perilous proposal stunned everyone in the room, leaving Takumi Haruka utterly taken aback, as he asked Claire Libert to repeat her request for him and Leo to enter the forest depths. Sebastian, alongside maids Layla and Gelda, cried out in panic, forcing Claire Libert to tell them to hold on before Sebastian stepped forward immediately to deliver his urgent objections. Apologizing for speaking out of turn, Sebastian insisted that entering FENRIR Forest, even with Takumi Haruka and Leo, was reckless madness, convinced that nobody could ever return unharmed. Layla and Gelda echoed the desperate pleas of Sebastian to stop, yet relentless curiosity continued driving Claire Libert forward. She explained that the first head of the Libert family had encountered a silver FENRIR in those woods, raising the mystery of how an ancient ancestor managed to befriend such a divine beast. That mystery lingered in her thoughts, alongside old records describing how the founder stood surrounded by hostile FENRIR until a noble silver FENRIR arrived on the scene. With nothing recorded across the chronicles of the first head of the Libert family, answers clearly remained buried deep within the uncharted forest depths that people both feared and revered. Sebastian objected out of of terror for the ferocious monsters inhabiting the woods. Claire Libert reminded him that common Fenrir lacked the divine power, razor fangs, larger stature, and supreme speed of a silver Fenrir like Leo, yet they still remained deadly predators, commanding elemental fire and ice magic. Wild Fenrir remained lethal threats that ordinary humans could never withstand, outmatching human reflexes and speed by an insurmountable margin. Determined, Claire Libert stood firm on going because her blood ancestor had befriended a silver Fenrir. She viewed the unexpected arrival of Takumi Haruka and the awakening of Leo as destiny willed by fate itself, awaiting only their firm decision and mutual assurance. Claire Libert silenced the dispute among her staff. Only the input of Takumi Haruka mattered, not their words. Sebastian apologized to Claire Libert for the uncalled-for outburst, after which Claire Libert turned back to Takumi Haruka to ask once more if he would accompany her into the wilderness. Takumi Haruka recognized that Claire Libert would never accept a refusal. Nodding thoughtfully, he asked if he could consult Leo first, and Claire Libert granted permission without hesitation before Takumi Haruka turned directly toward his companion. He told Leo that Claire Libert wanted them to return to that forest, and when Leo gave a calm murmur of consent, Takumi Haruka understood that she saw no reason to decline the journey. Raising the warning of Sebastian about hostile packs of Fenrir attacking them deep in the woods, Takumi Haruka realized from confident barks that Leo held special knowledge of that forest. Leo made clear that silver Fenrir were allies whose presence ensured wild Fenrir would never attack kin, and the other monsters roaming the forest posed even less danger than those wolves. Confident she could defeat multiple packs, Leo left Takumi Haruka amazed at his own ability to comprehend her insights on Fenrir and silver Fenrir, though he brushed the riddle aside for now. Certain that Leo approved of the expedition, Takumi Haruka returned to Claire Libert to announce that they had made up their minds and would gladly accompany her into the forest depths. Claire Libert beamed, yet Sebastian remained wary, asking if Takumi Haruka was sure. Takumi Haruka explained that they had talked it out, claiming their long companionship let him read her intent, proving his point to everyone when Leo gave an obedient nod right on cue. Sebastian finally relented, reassured, knowing that common Fenrir instinctively submitted to the divine authority of a silver Fenrir. He agreed to prepare supplies tomorrow so Claire Libert, Takumi Haruka, and Leo could depart the day after. Following the long discussion, Claire Libert decided they should conclude plans and call it a day. She told Takumi Haruka that she would explain her true goals to him and Leo inside the forest, keeping her deeper motives hidden from Sebastian and the household staff. Takumi Haruka could not help recalling his desperate initial days stranded in that forest. Lingering perils like roaming orcs kept him suspicious of that dangerous territory until he caught Leo sniffing at the mysterious leaf he had earlier produced through herb cultivation. Unrecorded in any reference book available to him, this plant had formed simply from his mental desire to create a restorative remedy. Before Takumi Haruka could react, Leo munched the leaf down and instantly gained fresh vigor. A shimmering aura of radiant light enveloped her in a sparkling glow. Asked how she felt by Takumi Haruka, Leo barked cheerfully, her fatigue entirely erased. Her exhaustion vanished completely. Leo felt stronger and more energized than ever before. Stunned by the miraculous result, Takumi Haruka realized he had cultivated something truly insane and resolved to conduct further trial and error in the garden. Brimming with boundless energy, Leo kept leaping and playing around, but Takumi Haruka reminded her that their big trip was in 2 days and it was bedtime. He granted her a few extra minutes of playtime before enforcing sleep. Final preparations got underway at the villa as Sebastian joined Claire Libert. Claire Libert voiced her irritation at Sebastian, who stood by the carriage explaining to the maids that despite Takumi Haruka and Leo possessing great strength, traveling in numbers ensured safety. After Sebastian announced that guards would join the trek, Takumi Haruka eased the tension by reassuring Claire Libert that the butler acted purely out of concern for her safety. Following their farewells, the entire party climbed aboard the horse-drawn carriage. Coming from a world devoid of magic, Takumi Haruka found himself reflecting on the nature of their transportation rather than worrying about the journey itself. Turning to the maid Layla, Takumi Haruka inquired about the travel time to the forest, receiving an estimate of roughly 3 hours. When Layla asked about everyday transit in his original world, Takumi Haruka found himself explaining how people traveled across long distances without relying on draft animals. He described horseless machines that moved entirely on their own power, answering their curiosity about how carriages could function without beasts of burden. Sebastian and Layla listened in utter disbelief to the concept of a magicless realm, as Takumi Haruka detailed how motorized metal boxes relied entirely on combustible liquid fuel to run. Combusting this liquid produced propulsion, and though Layla doubted heavy iron boxes could travel smoothly, Takumi Haruka assured her that scientific engineering made it work seamlessly. Deprived of supernatural spells, humanity had to innovate through technological ingenuity. Claire Libert praised such marvelous craftsmanship, reminding Takumi Takumi Haruka of the adage that sufficiently advanced technology proves indistinguishable from magic to residents of this world. To an ordinary observer like Layla, Earth's mechanical feats felt just as mystical as fire magic. But all conversation halted once Sebastian brought the carriage to their designated campsite. Sebastian announced that the horses could go no further into the dense wilderness. After securing the horses to a sturdy tree to await their return, the party instructed Layla to begin preparing lunch for everyone before they advanced. Sebastian asked Takumi Haruka to assist the guards in gathering dry branches, and when the men returned with wood, Leo proudly demonstrated that she wished to ignite the campfire herself. Intrigued by the offer, Sebastian gladly welcomed the chance to witness a silver FENRIR using magic. Leo unleashed fire magic without effort, leaving Sebastian utterly awestruck. Sebastian marveled at living to witness a silver FENRIR cast spells firsthand, and Claire Libert watched the divine feat in equal astonishment, discovering how the creature released magic. Once Leo lit the campfire, Layla bowed and expressed her gratitude. Following their meal, the guards and Claire Libert equipped Takumi Haruka for the dangerous forest expedition, presenting him with a sheathed sword as a vital safety precaution. She justified the blade by noting unknown perils in the woods, adding that he could use the edge to clear overgrown vines along the trail. Having never wielded a sword, Takumi Haruka politely accepted the weapon. Marching forward on foot, the group followed Leo as her keen nose tracked the path. Claire Libert instructed everyone to advance toward the river, establishing it as their primary checkpoint before pushing deeper into the woods. As they pushed forward, Takumi Haruka caught the sound of rushing water, confirming the river was near. A low guttural growl from Leo shattered the peaceful sound of water, alerting Takumi Haruka to immediate danger as he asked what had provoked her. An expedition member shouted an urgent warning about an imminent orc ambush, prompting another guard to shout at Sebastian to halt their forward advance immediately. Both armored guards drew their swords, swearing that no beast would touch Claire Libert. Recognizing the immediate threat, Takumi Haruka drew his newly acquired sword, determined to brandish his weapon in defense. Three feral pig-like orcs burst through the foliage, roaring savage battle cries as they charged. The menacing beasts bellowed fiercely, echoing guttural snarls through the trees. In a flash of pure ferocity, Leo charged forward, swatting the orcs aside with colossal force. A thunderous impact echoed through the clearing as the threat was eliminated in the blink of an eye. Witnessing the overwhelming strength of the silver FENRIR left Takumi Haruka and the guards speechless. Takumi Haruka broke the quiet, calling out to Leo. Praising Leo with a gentle pat, Takumi Haruka received a cheerful howl, proving the silver FENRIR possessed the immense strength required to explore the dangerous depths of FENRIR Forest. Tension settled across the clearing. Following the instant defeat of the orcs by Leo, the majestic display of the silver FENRIR left the entire expedition, including the guards, the maids, and Claire Libert, in complete astonishment. Guards admitted a silver FENRIR far exceeded their wildest imaginations, as Claire Libert emphasized that even battle-hardened veteran warriors still considered orcs to be formidable threats. Standing over the heavy monster carcasses, the group faced a transport dilemma, giving Takumi Haruka a chance to test a mysterious plant he had cultivated by coincidence before their trip, offering the strange leaf to the guards to help them haul the heavy carcasses. Takumi Haruka met initial skepticism, as the men hesitated before eating a plant of such uninviting color. Overcoming initial doubts, one guard sampled the leaf and discovered the taste was remarkably refreshing, resembling a sweet modern soft drink. To the group's total astonishment, consuming the leaf made the massive orc corpses feel as light as a feather, granting every guard incredible strength to lift the remains effortlessly. With the effect proving an undeniable success, the astonished companions of Claire Libert demanded to know what he had fed the guards, leaving Takumi Haruka equally stunned by its potency. Takumi Haruka could only confess that this remarkable plant was the product of pure coincidence, resulting from his ongoing trial and error experiments with herb cultivation in the garden. Exhausted by the march, Claire reminded Takumi that their first goal lay just ahead, and he assured her a river waited nearby as the party pressed on under the mysterious herb's weightless blessing. Reaching the riverside checkpoint at last, a weary Claire let out a relieved sigh, grateful for a chance to rest. Leo, brimming with boundless energy, bounded off to scout the unfamiliar riverbank. The riverbank made an ideal campsite. It offered fresh water and solid ground to rest for the day. Without delay, the guards began pitching the expedition tents. After raising the camp and finishing their meal, Takumi and the guards turned to the serious matter of organizing the night watch. Vigilance was crucial, since monsters could leap from the dark trees at any moment. Such precautions had completely slipped Takumi's mind, considering his modern homeworld never required anyone to stand guard against predatory beasts. Sebastian took command of the schedule, dividing the night into 3-hour shifts and laying out a strict guard rotation for the camp. Stepping up, Takumi offered to take the first shift, though Sebastian urged him to rest instead, arguing it was reckless for someone who had never stood sentry duty before to take the opening post. Takumi held his ground, insisting that despite his total lack of experience, he would pull his weight, stand fully prepared because Leo stood by his side, prompting Sebastian to concede to his fierce resolve and schedule Takumi alongside Leo for the first watch, starting promptly at 10 o'clock. In his mind, that 3-hour shift matched 11 at night until 2 in the morning. When night fell, Takumi and Leo took their posts beneath the dense dense woodland canopy, which blocked the ambient glare and left countless brilliant stars shining directly over their quiet encampment. Takumi sat beside the warm fire Leo had kindled with magic. A quiet unease gripped him, weighed down by worry for Claire and wishing he had the power to ease her burdens. An hour slipped past, leaving him with only 1 hour remaining on his shift. Footsteps drew his eyes to Claire as she approached the hearth in silence. Takumi warmly invited her to join him, and she offered her quiet thanks before sitting down beside the comforting embers. Breaking the quiet, Claire confessed she had come to speak with him about a private matter, reminding him of a secret she had deliberately kept hidden from Sebastian and the rest of the company. Sitting alongside Takumi during his midnight watch after her startling confession, the young noblewoman prepared to open up about the hidden purpose behind her journey. Claire began by thanking him sincerely for his support and for escorting her into the forest, but Takumi brushed the praise aside, reassuring her that he had genuinely wanted to explore the woods too. Still burdened by remorse, Claire pressed on with heartfelt apologies, desperate to unburden her conscience as she recounted the exact circumstances behind her initial plea for him to join her quest. Back when she had first invited Takumi and Leo into the forest, Sebastian had reprimanded her sharply, explaining that because Duke Eckenhart Libert held high ducal rank, their noble house was strictly forbidden from issuing unprompted demands to commoners. The butler had warned that her plea left Takumi unable to refuse despite having just met, leaving Claire racked with intense guilt over cornering him into an expedition he never asked to undertake. She insisted that taking advantage of her status as a daughter of the Libert family was a disgraceful abuse of her noble upbringing. Takumi, always gentle and easygoing, swiftly waved away her guilt, reassuring her that he was simply not the sort of man who could turn his back whenever someone asked him for help. With the mood lightened, Takumi proposed a fair trade. If she shared her true reason for venturing into the forest, they would consider the entire debt fully settled between them. Claire then revealed that her journey stemmed from the legend of the Silver FENRIR, confessing that she cared little for the forest itself and sought only the mythical wolf tied to her family's past. The rumors had begun at her birth. Estate servants whispered that Claire was the first head of the Libert family reborn. That belief grew from her striking resemblance to the first head of the Libert family, whose life was captured in antique portraits that depicted a young girl identical to Claire in each detail. The first head had been a legendary warrior who routed enemy armies, leading the entire household to expect Claire to inherit that greatness and guide the Libert family toward unmatched prosperity. Her father, Duke Eckenhart Libert, rejected those rumors entirely and urged his daughter never to burden herself with such superstitions. He insisted she never had to imitate the first head and should live entirely by her own convictions. Deeply grateful for Duke Eckenhart Libert's steadfast support, Claire cherished the freedom he gave her to grow into her own person. Yet tales of the Silver FENRIR set Claire's heart racing, driving her to explore FENRIR Forest and uncover that deep ancestral bond alongside Leo, an authentic living Silver FENRIR of legend. Whenever the Silver FENRIR was mentioned, intense emotions welled within Claire, compelling her to search the forest where the first head met the beast on a quest for true inner understanding. Hearing the conviction in her voice, Takumi asked a pointed question about her resolve, wondering if she would simply walk away content if their trek through the woods failed to find a single beast. Claire answered with an unhesitating yes, confirming that her journey was about pursuing personal truth and making the effort, rather than demanding a guaranteed finding at the end of the road. Deeply moved by her honesty, Takumi listened as Claire offered a bashful apology for oversharing. She softly asked Takumi and Leo to keep her secret safe, and Takumi readily swore an absolute vow never to breathe a single word of her private quest to another soul. Footsteps signaled that Sebastian was waking up nearby. Knowing it was time to sleep, Takumi urged Claire to rest, offering a parting gift to help her recover. Takumi handed her a cluster of miraculous leaves grown through herb cultivation the previous day, urging her to eat them before bed to restore her strength. When Claire asked about their origin, Takumi explained they guaranteed deep, restorative sleep, and she recognized at once that they were another wonder produced by his herb cultivation gift. Claire thanked him with a smile, eager to study his plant research tomorrow. Next morning, the search party readied their gear to push deeper into the forest, with a fully rested Takumi Haruka brimming with energy as he urged everyone forward to set off. Feeling far better than yesterday, Takumi Haruka followed the river with Claire Libert, Leo, Sebastian, Layla, and Johanna, leaving guards Philip and Nicola behind at camp to watch over the horses. The initial trek proved difficult, as thick canopy blocked out daylight, plunging the trail into gloom and obscuring every step. Noticing Takumi Haruka stumbling in the dark, Sebastian conjured a faint glow around his hand, confirming it was a simple light spell and advising the newcomer to conserve his personal pool of mana. Impressed by the practical trick, Takumi Haruka praised its convenience, prompting Sebastian to offer personal training so the newcomer could eventually cast the light spell on his own. A playful dispute erupted between Claire Libert and Sebastian over who should tutor him. Claire Libert eagerly offered to teach, having studied magic as well. Sebastian countered that he had taught Claire Libert the basics of magic first, and Takumi Haruka gladly accepted lessons from both aristocrats, once he realized how eager they were to instruct him. Eager to learn, he pressed onward as the group spent 3 full days scouring the dense wilderness, 4 days into the expedition and 3 days into active searching. The party had failed to uncover any trace of their quarry. Gathered around the evening campfire, the party faced their failure as Sebastian warned Claire Libert that mounting exhaustion would only make deeper exploration increasingly hazardous. Conceding to the fatigue and peril, Claire Libert reluctantly called off the hunt to head home. After she thanked everyone for indulging her request, Takumi Haruka realized the companions had joined the hunt out of loyalty, hoping to ease Claire Libert and her lingering worries. Frustration mounted within Takumi Haruka as he searched for a breakthrough, unwilling to let the entire expedition return to the estate completely empty-handed. Reaching for Leo and her silver FENRIR strength, Takumi Haruka devised a plan to channel her vast mana through his herb cultivation gift, asking for her giant paw to forge a new path forward. Realizing the truth, Takumi Haruka knew his herb cultivation held the answer. Explaining his oversight to Leo, Takumi Haruka planned to grow an invigorating herb that would instantly wash away the party's physical fatigue and get their stalled expedition moving again. He apologized for taking so long to realize the answer under dwindling time. Placing his hand upon the giant paw of Leo, Takumi Haruka drew upon her mana in deep focus. A brilliant light radiated between them as magical mana surged into the soil, prompting a dense cluster of potent cultivated herbs to sprout vigorously across the darkened woodland floor. Plucking fresh sprigs from the newly grown stalks, he distributed them to all, taking effect immediately. The plant revitalized the guards so thoroughly that one exclaimed he was ready for combat drills on the spot. Pleased with the success, Takumi Haruka smiled, knowing the medicinal plant held far deeper benefits than simply soothing tired muscles. Takumi Haruka asked Claire Libert to peer ahead. Looking out, she noticed the dim trees and terrain now shone with crisp, unexpected brightness. Explaining the vision boost, Takumi Haruka credited his first herb. The leaf enhanced their eyesight to cut cleanly through the deepest forest gloom. Moments later, Claire Libert realized her hearing had sharpened to incredible heights, catching every faint woodland chirp, rustle, and screech across the canopy with absolute clarity. Crediting his second herb, Takumi Haruka revealed that it enhanced auditory perception, granting sharp awareness of every sound in their surroundings. Claire Libert marveled at the immense utility of Takumi Haruka and his gift, astonished to detect hidden creatures lurking far off in the woods. Armed with heightened senses, the party resumed the hunt, confident they would locate any nearby FENRIR. Though Sebastian cautioned Claire Libert that nightfall was quickly closing in on them, Leo halted in her tracks, letting out a menacing low growl before anyone could register the danger. Growling again, Leo signaled the clear danger to Takumi Haruka. Fierce monsters clashed ahead. Leo barked urgently, prompting Takumi Haruka to investigate. Sebastian voiced deep skepticism that a genuine FENRIR was nearby, admitting his magic perception could not match Leo, even as Takumi Haruka trusted the great hound's superior instincts. Catching the distinct distress cries of a wounded FENRIR, Takumi Haruka asked Leo what monsters could mount such a fierce attack, resolving immediately to rush in and intervene in the fight. Guided by cues from Leo, Takumi Haruka deduced the attackers were trolls. Towering over 3 meters tall, these brute trolls were weaker than a solitary FENRIR, but their overwhelming numbers presented a lethal threat. Claire Libert demanded an immediate rescue for the imperiled FENRIR, but Sebastian protested in alarm, warning that engaging 5 brutal trolls posed far too great a risk for their party. Standing firm, Claire Libert turned to Leo and placed full faith in her strength. Giving the signal, Takumi Haruka sent Leo racing ahead, and the giant wolf bolted forward like a silver blur, vanishing into the deep timber at incredible speed, supported by his sensory herbs as Leo closed the distance. Takumi Haruka tracked the furious clash from afar, relying on his magically sharpened eyesight and hearing to follow every strike. Hearing the thunderous battle and rapid strikes from Leo, he cheered her incredible power on. Leo reappeared and halted, prompting Takumi Haruka to ask what happened. Following Leo to the battleground, the companions discovered scorched, sizzling earth where devastating magic had been unleashed, confirming the violent skirmish had drawn to a close. The quarry of their quest lay collapsed on the ground, and Takumi Haruka rushed forward to check on the FENRIR. Before them lay an exhausted, barely breathing FENRIR, whimpering in pain as Leo stood guard and the search party realized their hard-won quarry was in desperate need of immediate medical aid. As Takumi Haruka and the companions gathered over the young FENRIR mauled by the brutal trolls, Claire Libert grasped the dire emergency and cried out in anguish over the tragic sight. When questioned about the grim injuries, Sebastian examined the lacerations and solemnly admitted he was no physician, fearing the rescue party had arrived too late to save the creature's life. With the young FENRIR dying, Sebastian warned that even Miracle Low could not save it, yet the crisis spurred Takumi Haruka to cultivate something far more potent to mend the mortal trauma. Kneeling close to the ground with Low as a template, Takumi Haruka focused his mind to craft a cure for mortal wounds, his intense herb cultivation radiating a brilliant glow around him. A shimmering, transparent jelly materialized from the power, prompting Takumi Haruka to quickly scoop the salve into a leaf and rush to treat the wounded FENRIR pup. Gently scooping the healing concoction from the makeshift wrapper onto the torn flesh, he watched the medicine take instant effect as the dark, lifeless FENRIR drew an immediate gasp of life. Witnessing the rapid cure, a stunned Sebastian exclaimed that Takumi Takumi Haruka had completely restored the beast. After inspecting the body and confirming every injury had closed, Claire Libert cheered in sheer relief at Takumi Haruka's triumph. As Leo barked with pure joy, a modest Takumi Haruka claimed he had merely gotten lucky, leaving a contemplative Sebastian to ponder. Marveling that an herb curing mortal wounds actually exists, Sebastian advised keeping the creature warm once danger passed, and the resting FENRIR sank into deep sleep to regain its strength. Judging by its small size, the young FENRIR had evidently been separated from its forest pack. Vicious trolls had ambushed the stray cub, leaving the party debating its fate. Sebastian concluded their search was done and urged the group to head back soon. Urgent barks broke out from Leo as she pressed her feelings upon Takumi Haruka. Relaying the message to the group, Takumi Haruka explained that Leo wished to bring the FENRIR along. Sebastian objected at once, arguing that wild FENRIR are ferocious predators and carrying one back would only invite fresh danger and attacks. Claire Libert backed the rescue wholeheartedly, and Takumi Haruka answered Sebastian's objections by recalling their earlier discussion before entering FENRIR Forest on beast hierarchy. He affirmed that Leo approved of the adoption, noting ordinary FENRIR naturally submit to a divine silver FENRIR. Reluctantly conceding the point, Sebastian agreed they could take the cub under close watch, earning warm thanks from Claire Libert. He set two strict conditions. The FENRIR would be treated as hostile if it posed any threat, and Leo was required to maintain constant vigilant supervision. Upon returning to the main campsite where the other guards waited, Claire Libert proudly carried the small FENRIR pup, shocking the sentries who asked if the beast in her arms was genuine. Claire Libert explained that Leo had rescued the cub from attacking trolls. Stirring awake, the FENRIR pup shuddered in sheer terror at the surrounding humans. Claire Libert softly reassured the pup that Leo would not harm it. Nervous yaps escaped the cub until Leo stepped forward, initiating a silent, beastly dialogue. Having confirmed that FENRIR truly inhabit FENRIR Forest and securing an unexpected new companion, the triumphant party prepared to leave the woods. Takumi Haruka marveled at the rapid turn of events. First a silver FENRIR and herb cultivation, now a FENRIR pup. Accepting that a peaceful, quiet life was impossible, he took the unfolding chaos in stride with a wry smile, knowing his new journey would never settle down into ordinary routine. Soon, the party emerged from FENRIR Forest. Philip welcomed them warmly, asking if everyone was unharmed. Spotting the young FENRIR, he stared in clear confusion. Sebastian explained they adopted a FENRIR pup, reassuring him that the cub posed no threat. Boarding the carriage, Takumi Haruka realized the interior lacked enough room for the entire party. He told Claire Libert he would go with Leo. The FENRIR pup bounded over and happily licked Takumi Haruka. Seeing its attachment, Claire Libert invited Takumi Haruka inside, and he agreed despite lingering doubt. To free up room, Leo offered Layla a ride on her back. A surprised Layla asked Takumi Haruka if riding the divine wolf was truly permissible, and upon his confirmation of Leo's approval, the travelers set off on their journey home. During the carriage ride, Claire Libert asked if Takumi Haruka was comfortable, prompting his warm agreement as he fondly recalled how Leo used to squeeze between sofa legs back on Earth. Before long, the party arrived back at the mansion. Stepping to the side, Leo raised her head and began to howl. The deep howl left everyone utterly confused. To their surprise, the small FENRIR answered with its own howl. Moments later, both wolves fell silent. The spectators wondered what the ritual signified. Sebastian had tensed, but relaxed upon recognizing Leo's tone, inquiring into the exchange. Takumi Haruka learned Leo had declared this territory their home, and formally welcomed the young FENRIR into the pack. The pup had accepted the pledge, leading Claire Libert to recognize an ancient FENRIR custom. Takumi Haruka felt joyful seeing Leo so happy. Entering the foyer, Gelda greeted the returning group. Claire Libert urged quiet lest the slumbering FENRIR pup be awakened. Allura Libert ran up with a loud welcome shout. Surprised by the FENRIR cub, she eagerly wanted to play. Claire Libert refused, heading inside as Takumi Haruka went to change. They asked Gelda to brew fresh tea. Returning to the hall shortly after, they found Gelda waiting with hot tea. Taking a warm sip, he praised the taste. Claire Libert and Allura Libert arrived, thanking Takumi Haruka for his hard work in the FENRIR Forest. Takumi Haruka watched the awake FENRIR puppy scamper over to play with Leo, after Claire Libert explained it had stirred upon entering her chamber. Her quiet giggles prompted Takumi Haruka to ask what was wrong. Claire Libert explained that once the FENRIR pup woke up, finding itself indoors astonished it. The pup explored every corner in an utterly adorable way. Turning serious, Claire Libert asked him to explain what he had been testing. He pondered how best to explain it. His vision abruptly blurred and he collapsed. Waking moments later, Takumi Haruka felt like his head was swelling. Looking up, he saw Sebastian, Claire Libert, and Leo gathered around him. Sebastian explained the situation, reminding Takumi Haruka of their interrupted talk. Before Takumi Haruka spoke, Leo happily showered him with licks. He failed to calm Leo down, but when Claire Libert asked if he could move, he confirmed he could. Together, they discussed what happened. Takumi Haruka recounted how his vision blurred right before he passed out. Interjecting, Sebastian suggested the fainting stemmed from the herb cultivation gift, prompting a confused Takumi Haruka to ask how that could be. Sebastian explained that gift users often lose consciousness from overusing their power, though debate remains on whether the strain depends on the gift or the individual. He remained confused. Sebastian clarified clarified that Takumi Haruka had extraordinary power, leading to the collapse. They discussed the matter deeply, noting prolonged gift use exacts a greater physical toll. Still mostly guesswork. Rapid energy growth in Takumi Haruka could just as easily have caused the swoon. Sebastian revealed that once Takumi Haruka fainted, the FENRIR pup went limp and motionless. His theory suggested that because the medicinal herb had not finished healing the FENRIR pup, it resumed working in the hall and drained Takumi Haruka until he collapsed. Sebastian urged Takumi Haruka to stop cultivating for now, but Takumi Haruka reasoned he only had to avoid plants with continuous lasting effects. Claire Libert urged rest and asked about tests. Takumi Haruka admitted Leo ate his experimental leaf and gained energy, teaching him to cultivate specific effects rather than just plant appearance. Sebastian asked if Takumi Haruka merely wished for the plant to appear, and he confirmed it. Claire Libert grew excited, though Sebastian warned Takumi Haruka about the risks of enduring magical effects. Takumi Haruka agreed, offering to cultivate rare herbs for Claire Libert to sell on the firm condition that he stayed out of danger, sealing a profitable business partnership if she was ready. Gratefully thanking Takumi Haruka, Claire Libert planned to inform Duke Eckenhart Libert, despite burdensome marriage proposals, before Takumi Haruka asked about naming the young FENRIR puppy. Claire Libert checked the FENRIR pup to see whether it was male or female. Inspection confirmed the pup was a girl. Sebastian offered a name, but she disliked it. An inspiration struck Claire Libert to name the FENRIR pup Sherry, meaning one who is loved, causing Sherry to beam with a joyful smile upon hearing her new name. A radiant glow enveloped Sherry, prompting everyone to step back as the light began to dim. Claire Libert stared at Sherry in confusion. Takumi Haruka asked Leo, who responded no. Sebastian wondered if Sherry had just formed a familiar contract. He recalled ancient lore stating that when a monster accepts a given name, a familiar contract is sealed. Claire Libert asked if the familiar contract held. Sherry smiled. Sebastian offered warm congratulations. Claire Libert thanked Takumi Haruka for making it all possible. Though hesitant to accept gratitude, Takumi Haruka smiled to see Sherry overjoyed at her rescue. The next morning, Takumi Haruka noticed the estate staff looking deeply anxious. Noticing Talura Libert was missing, Takumi Haruka asked Claire Libert, who explained her sister was sleeping in after staying up late. She added that big events loomed as Duke Eckenhart Libert was arriving that evening. Sebastian suggests that Duke Eckenhart Libert might be visiting to check on Claire Libert's health, then asks a puzzled Takumi Haruka if he recalls the day she set out searching for herbs. Duke Eckenhart Libert was worried sick, yet the letters sent after their return failed to reach his hands. Takumi Haruka asks Claire Libert why her father's arrival troubles her, so Claire Libert admits she dreads the marriage proposals her father brings. He asks whether she plans to reject every proposal. Yes, she shouts, insisting Talura Libert and herself are far too young. Furthermore, Takumi Haruka must negotiate their herb sales agreement with Duke Eckenhart Libert, leaving him anxious about aristocratic manners. Claire Libert tells him not to fret, making Takumi Haruka wonder what Duke Eckenhart Libert is truly like. When Talura Libert learns about the proposals, she instantly freezes. Over dinner, the whole group plots together on how to reject every marriage proposal. Meanwhile, Takumi Haruka asks Layla if ordinary clothes are suitable to meet Duke Eckenhart Libert, so the maid reminds him of his tailored attire waiting in Rakdos, and he sets out to retrieve it. Layla rides beside him toward town, tasked with looking after Takumi Haruka. Entering the clothing store in town, the clerk presents his finished garments. Back at the estate gates, Claire Libert and Sebastian greet Takumi Haruka warmly. They report that Duke Eckenhart Libert arrived, agreeing to stick to their plan. Together, they greet Duke Eckenhart Libert. He returns a gentle smile. She apologizes to Duke Eckenhart Libert for causing him trouble. Duke Eckenhart Libert is glad to see both his daughters. He praises both girls for growing more lovely every day. Sebastian steps forward to ask about the report. Duke Eckenhart Libert received it on the road, choosing to see his daughters anyway. Asking after Takumi Haruka, Duke Eckenhart Libert hears Sebastian name him savior. Overjoyed to hear Claire Libert was rescued, Duke Eckenhart Libert heavily thumps his back. He praises Takumi Haruka for enduring the slap without flinching. Leo enters the room. Shocked, Duke Eckenhart Libert bows down before Takumi Haruka. He demands why his daughters stand casually before a silver FENRIR, baffling Takumi, Haruka, and Leo. Claire Libert urges Duke Eckenhart Libert to rise and calm down. They promise a full explanation soon, but Sherry trots inside, leaving Duke Eckenhart Libert thoroughly bewildered and convinced that they have far more matters to discuss. After hearing the full explanation, Duke Eckenhart Libert asks whether Takumi Haruka is absolutely certain that Leo poses no danger to anyone around them. Takumi Haruka reassures him, and Duke Eckenhart Libert greets Leo. He promptly steers the conversation back toward marriage. Both daughters frown at the subject. Takumi Haruka asks Duke Eckenhart Libert why he pushes these marriage talks so stubbornly. Duke Eckenhart Libert shocks the room by revealing Claire. Libert asked for this a decade ago. Upon learning the first head of the Libert family had an arranged marriage, she insisted on one. Claire Libert insisted on an arranged match then, but recalls nothing now. He stands by his memory, recalling Claire Libert's childhood antics. Duke Eckenhart Libert notes Claire Libert grieved Duchess Libert, though Talura Libert remembers nothing. As Duke Eckenhart Libert explains, Duchess Liebert had poor health bearing Claire Liebert. Though managed, Duchess Liebert passed away giving birth to Tellura Liebert. Duchess Liebert remained joyful, deeply proud of her two lovely daughters. Through tears, Claire Liebert apologizes to Duke Eckenhart Liebert. Duke Eckenhart Liebert asks if they should drop all talk of marriage. Claire Liebert replies that she wishes to choose her partner herself. Tellura Liebert shouts as well. Duke Eckenhart Liebert agrees, admitting he planned to teach them how to handle suitors, but sees they grew into fine young ladies who need no such lesson. Claire Liebert blinks in surprise, then stammers and blushes as she looks at Takumi Haruka. Takumi Haruka blinks. Duke Eckenhart Liebert smiles. Flustered, Claire Liebert shouts that it is nothing. Wanting to rest, Takumi Haruka asks Sebastian about a room. Sebastian notes that another important topic needs discussion, specifically the herb cultivation of Takumi Haruka. Duke Eckenhart Liebert asks if the gift of Takumi Haruka is herb cultivation. Takumi Haruka prepares to explain his ability to secure a deal, but Claire Liebert steps in first, detailing how his special mana fuels the growth. Stunned by the news, Duke Eckenhart Liebert asks if she means the high-grade plant, and Claire Liebert confirms it. She adds that he can cultivate all varieties of superior plants. Sebastian adds that Takumi Haruka even produced plants never witnessed before. Practical tests already proved how well the plants work. Recognizing the power of the herbs, Duke Eckenhart Liebert asks what outcome they want. Claire Liebert explains their mutual desire to establish a sales partnership with Takumi Haruka. Both sides benefit by distributing the harvest under the prestigious Liebert family name. Duke Eckenhart Liebert checks directly with Takumi Haruka, refusing to accept any agreement unless the young guest genuinely desires it. Takumi Haruka explains that he already understands both the advantages and drawbacks of the contract, seeking no selfish profit but only hoping his herb cultivation aids others. Duke Eckenhart Liebert bursts into laughter, impressed that Takumi Haruka possesses the boldness to speak so frankly to his face. With terms aligned, they finalize the sales contract. Takumi, Haruka, and Duke Eckenhart Liebert shake hands in mutual satisfaction. Retiring to their rooms, Takumi Haruka feels glad the meeting went well, finding Duke Eckenhart Liebert quite considerate. Leo bounds over, licking and playing with Takumi Haruka. Glancing down, Takumi Haruka notices that Leo is covered in dirt. Sensing that bath time has arrived, Leo recoils with deep reluctance, dreading the impending wash. Sebastian steps into the room, prompting Takumi Haruka to ask what is amiss. Without delay, Sebastian presents the written trade contract. Examining the text, Takumi Haruka wonders how he understands this foreign language. Sebastian explains the pricing and his share of the revenue. Takumi Haruka nods, agreeing to review the pages carefully. Duke Eckenhart Liebert enters the room shortly afterward. Bowing deeply, Duke Eckenhart Liebert thanks Takumi Haruka for rescuing his daughters, but Takumi Haruka credits Leo with the deed. Feeding that capwort to Tellura Liebert had simply been an accident. Regardless, Duke Eckenhart Liebert maintains his gratitude for the outcome, then nervously asks if Leo is angry. Chuckling at the question, Takumi Haruka denies any anger, as Sebastian tries to assist Duke Eckenhart Liebert, who insists on maintaining proper respect. Over dinner, Duke Eckenhart Liebert asks if Takumi Haruka managed to read the agreement. Takumi Haruka confirms it, raising several minor questions. Discussing each point, they reach a mutual agreement. Claire Liebert explains that she and Sebastian drafted the terms together. Although Duke Eckenhart Liebert approved it, the house gains a massive edge, since the herb cultivation of Takumi Haruka guarantees unlimited supply and top quality. Duke Eckenhart Liebert wonders how people will react once Takumi Haruka becomes known. Takumi Haruka requests one personal condition, asking if he might prolong his stay in their mansion. Stunned silence grips the room, making him nervous. Duke Eckenhart Liebert bursts into laughter and urges Takumi Haruka to stay as long as he wishes. Sebastian asks if they must write it in, but Duke Eckenhart Liebert waves it off, declaring that with or without a deal, Takumi Haruka may remain as long as he wants. Surprised, Takumi Haruka asks if they are truly sure. They readily assure him with an enthusiastic of course. With the contract signed, Takumi Haruka heads off to the washroom to bathe Leo. Eager to witness herb cultivation, Duke Eckenhart Liebert gives Takumi Haruka an order sheet valuing each herb cutting at 5 gold coins, though the guest delays questions about the huge sum. Instead, he asks why the requested order is so short. They explain that the modest quota keeps him from exhausting himself. Touched by their consideration, Takumi Haruka accompanies Duke Eckenhart Liebert to demonstrate his herb cultivation. Approaching a plant, Takumi Haruka channels his ability, causing it to surge into full maturity within moments. The miraculous display leaves Duke Eckenhart Liebert in awe. Within minutes, Takumi fulfilled the full order. Claire checked on how Takumi felt. Eckenhart stood amazed at how effortlessly the plant sprouted. Moved by praise from Eckenhart, Takumi felt glad to assist the household, giving him shelter. Sebastian arrived to confirm the completion, so Takumi offered to harvest the crop himself. Eckenhart asked in surprise if he could handle that too, and Takumi agreed to help them even more. With the harvest done, Eckenhart asked if Takumi could wield a sword. Takumi admitted he knew next to nothing of weapons. Eckenhart urged him to learn self-defense, since Leo could not stay beside him at every moment. Rising success would make him a dangerous target. When Takumi questioned the risk, Eckenhart explained that greedy factions factions would crave his rare gift for themselves, and leaks would slip past security no matter how fiercely they guarded him. Baffled, Takumi asked if danger rose over mere plants. Eichenhart clarified that their entire kingdom depended on medicinal herbs, and the rare species Takumi cultivated was notoriously difficult to grow. Furthermore, factions cultivating lethal poisons would hunt him down. Others might view him as a threat, so Takumi resolved to master weapons. Eichenhart offered swordsmanship lessons, prompting Claire to note her father always rushed to train talented people. Sebastian praised Eichenhart as an exceptional master swordsman. Stepping closer to Takumi, Eichenhart declared the sword the foundation of all weaponry. Before Takumi could even answer, Eichenhart barked that lessons began immediately. Claire intervened, warning that Takumi had just drained his gift and risked harm by training now. Eichenhart agreed, remembering how Takumi had collapsed from exhaustion before, so they postponed the lesson to a safer day. Heading back inside, Takumi felt eager to dedicate himself to mastering the sword. Sebastian soon approached, delivering a sword for Takumi. Takumi asked if this weapon came from the forest, and Sebastian confirmed it. He handed the payment to Takumi, explaining that this rewarded his cultivated herbs. Sebastian watched Takumi open the pouch of unfamiliar coins. Baffled by the money, Takumi asked the butler for a clear lesson on the currency. Sebastian explained that the iron coin had the lowest value. 100 iron coins equaled a single copper coin. Next, 100 copper coins bought 1 silver coin. 10 silver coins equaled a gold coin, though Sebastian advised spending silver for daily trades, since gold coins created massive trouble when merchants lacked change. Takumi quickly calculated this currency against Japanese yen. He realized his total reached 55 million yen. Asking about property prices, Takumi learned a modest house cost 5 to 10 gold coins. Sebastian offered more pay, but Takumi declined. Takumi asked how much money they spent buying his gear in Rakdos. Sebastian tried to brush it off, yet Takumi insisted on repaying the full expense. Announcing dinner, Sebastian departed, leaving Takumi uneasy over how dangerous valuable herbs could become. At dinner, Tellura nervously asked if she could join the sword fighting lessons. Eichenhart asked her for a reason. Tellura declared she needed combat skills to secure her own familiar contract. Claire reasoned that Sherry bonded with her only because Leo and Takumi were present to protect them. Eichenhart refused the request, unwilling to let her train purely to pursue a familiar contract. Yet Tellura pleaded that she longed for one with all her heart. Sternly, Eichenhart remarked that she took after Claire, warning that sword training was no game. Real injury was possible, but Tellura insisted she accepted the risk. Eichenhart relented, agreeing to instruct her in sword fighting as well. Overjoyed, she embraced him. Approaching Tellura, Claire reminded her not to neglect her studies alongside training. At dawn, Takumi woke up early. To his surprise, Tellura arrived, noting Sherry had not yet awakened. Leo slept too, so they chatted. Tellura confessed her anxiety about the training. Takumi admitted he felt nervous too, since this was their first lesson. Laughter echoed across the yard until Leo stirred awake, shifting their focus towards sword training as Duke Eichenhart Libert demonstrated the proper way to grip a blade. Both held their blades with ease, so he guided them through a proper practice swing. He commanded them to follow through along the edge, and Tellura Libert mirrored his strike. Her blade struck the hard ground and snapped, nursing her stinging hands. Duke Eichenhart Libert scolded her for improper form. They pushed through more repetitions, gasping for breath after only a few grueling minutes. Noticing their weapons controlled them rather than the reverse, he ordered both students to focus entirely on building raw physical stamina first. Basic conditioning began immediately with sets of push-ups, squats, and sit-ups. Back extensions and running laps followed, leaving them exhausted. Hoping to brew a remedy, Takumi Haruka asked to utilize his herb cultivation. Duke Eichenhart Libert agreed, provided training remained on track. Takumi Haruka grew fresh sprouts. Tellura Libert inquired, learning the herb was crafted to relieve their fatigue. Duke Eichenhart Libert watched in surprise as Tellura Libert gagged on the taste. Within seconds, her energy surged back in full force, prompting Duke Eichenhart Libert to praise the remedy since it allowed for much heavier conditioning drills. Dismay struck Tellura Libert and Takumi Haruka. Their physical regimen doubled alongside endless sets of blade swings. Days later, Takumi Haruka lay completely flat on the courtyard dirt. Claire Libert approached his sweat-soaked frame to check on his condition. Powerless to halt Duke Eichenhart Libert, she gently asked if Takumi Haruka truly wished to learn the art of swordplay. Hiring personal guards would keep him safe and eliminate any need to worry over combat. Stressed by her deep concern, Takumi Haruka searched for the right words. Takumi Haruka refused to quit swordplay, rejecting the idea of bodyguards. Relying on others was a burden, and he refused to depend on Leo for every danger. She countered that no one minded, pointing out that Leo reigned as the mightiest beast alive. Recalling their long bond, Takumi Haruka explained how he nurtured Leo from the start. Their shared journey was built on mutual protection. If Leo alone shielded him, their partnership was hollow, lacking a commanding familiar contract to order her around. He refused to act like a master, danger and had to learn to defend his own life. He swore her to secrecy from Duke Eckenhart Libert, fearing the drills would intensify. Sharing an exclusive secret between the two of them flushed her cheeks crimson. Before she could offer encouragement, Talura Libert shouted that their rest was over. Inspired to help the Libert family, Claire Libert watched days pass until Takumi Haruka questioned the upcoming mock battle, where Duke Eckenhart Libert planned to spar against them with live steel. Claire Libert voiced her anxious doubts, but Duke Eckenhart Libert promised to hold back his full strength and ordered Takumi Haruka to strike the opening blow. Stealing his nerves, Takumi Haruka charged Duke Eckenhart Libert. His swing sliced empty air. Before Takumi Haruka could react, Duke Eckenhart Libert tapped his chest, warning that dropping his sword edge left an opening for an instant lethal counterattack. Facing lethal defeat, Takumi Haruka thanked Duke Eckenhart Libert. A menacing growl cut in as Leo glared fiercely at Duke Eckenhart Libert. Realizing she sensed genuine danger, Takumi Haruka shouted for Leo to stand down, since Duke Eckenhart Libert was only sparring in practice. Checking that the beast held back, Duke Eckenhart Libert dropped to his knees before the divine silver FENRIR, bowing deeply and pleading for immediate forgiveness. Claire Libert gasped, noting Leo had stood by her side before flashing instantly across the yard. Duke Eckenhart Libert finally understood why lore praised the FENRIR as a windborne phantom. Grateful for her fierce protection, Takumi Haruka thanked Leo with a warm smile before Talura Libert lost her duel, prompting Duke Eckenhart Libert to end the day. Pressing domain duties demanded his return, so Duke Eckenhart Libert concluded his final visit by handing over a strict training regimen that they were expected to follow. Preparing to depart, Duke Eckenhart Libert directed Sebastian to gather the special herbs cultivated by Takumi Haruka for the journey home. Selling the herbs in Rakdos came first, and Sebastian agreed. As a central crossroads, Rakdos made spreading word about them easy. Distributing through the Libert family merchant house sparked lively discussion. Unfamiliar with regional trade, Takumi Haruka kept quiet and listened in silence. A random craving struck him, so he asked Claire Libert for sausages to take along. Claire Libert asks why, so Takumi Haruka plans patience training for Leo after yesterday. Duke Eckenhart Libert feels embarrassed for freezing, as Takumi Haruka dreads disaster if the wolf runs wild. Eager to help, Claire Libert brings Sherry along, and Duke Eckenhart Libert arrives to watch the drill. Heading into the backyard, Takumi Haruka tells both FENRIR beasts that hot sausages are coming, instructing them never to pounce on the food the moment it arrives. Duke Eckenhart Libert starts frying the meat with fire magic, but Leo spots the food and dashes to eat. In a flash, the giant wolf swallows every sausage unseen, leaving the onlookers stunned by the empty pan. Upset, Takumi Haruka scolds Leo for bypassing Sherry. Whining softly, Leo acts cute, but Takumi Haruka stands firm. Claire Libert warns Leo not to let tasty aromas tempt her. With the drill resumed, both FENRIR beasts try their hardest to look away. Sneaking a quick peek, Leo makes Claire Libert smile at the near failure. Counting it a pass, Claire Libert invites the FENRIR pair to eat. Duke Eckenhart Libert asks if they finished, but Takumi Haruka places meat directly on their snouts. Tossing the treats upward, both wolves catch and chew the sausage. The trick astonishes the crowd, yet Takumi Haruka scolds Leo, warning that failing the next attempt will cost both wolves their evening dinner. On round 2, the FENRIR pair succeed. Giving the signal, Takumi Haruka lets them playfully gobble the meal. Offering a ride on Leo, Takumi Haruka surprises Duke Eckenhart Libert. The noble eagerly agrees, and Takumi Haruka summons the great beast. Duke Eckenhart Libert double-checks his safety, then enjoys riding for several minutes. Preparing for departure, Duke Eckenhart Libert asks Takumi Haruka to watch over the estate. Before leaving, Duke Eckenhart Libert looks forward to their swordsmanship progress. The following day, Talura Libert cheers with delight that her lessons are finally complete, announcing that she has no schoolwork holding her back starting tomorrow. Asking Claire Libert, Takumi Haruka receives her confirmation. Claire Libert wishes Talura Libert had always studied this diligently. Talura Libert explains she hurried her studies so the training plan from Duke Eckenhart Libert could begin, earning warm praise from Takumi Haruka. Claire Libert agrees to the plan, and when Takumi Haruka checks if Leo is ready, the wolf barks happily. Everyone gathers to begin the regimen designed by Duke Eckenhart Libert. The drill demands attacking Leo with practice blades, making both pupils nervous about facing the towering beast in direct combat. Fortunately, no matter how cleanly their blades strike Leo, the blows cause the divine wolf no pain. Landing a hit against the agility of Leo serves as the ultimate test of their growing combat skill. As the duel opens, Takumi Haruka and Talura Libert charge at Leo. Leo casually leaps up to dodge both strikes, refusing to quit. Both fighters try repeatedly. Exhaustion sets in as matching the speed of Leo proves impossible. Takumi Haruka realizes the wolf treats this as child's play, proving the pair still have a massive amount to master in combat. Takumi Haruka vows to land a clean blow before long. Both fighters praise Leo for her agility. Sebastian notes that Takumi Haruka and Talura Libert swing their blades flawlessly, needing only to match their timing to Leo. Agreeing, Takumi Haruka ponders how to track the rapid speed of Leo with his eyes. Claire Libert chimes in, asking if swinging swords a fraction earlier might work. Talura Libert looks puzzled, but Takumi Haruka welcomes the helpful insight. Determined to succeed, they resume their practice. office. Asking Leo for help, Takumi Haruka puts all his energy into the drill. Inside the manor, Claire Libert asks Takumi Haruka to take a break. He agrees, and Claire Libert explains that sales are starting, inviting him along to witness the debut. Accepting the invite, he listens as Tellura Libert pleads to come along. Claire Libert questions her studies, but Tellura Libert offers to finish early to accompany Leo. Claire Libert snaps that this is work, not play, yet the girl protests against staying trapped inside. Takumi Haruka sees her point. He asks Claire Libert to let Tellura Libert come along, and since no danger awaits, Claire Libert relents. Sebastian requests extra herbs. Takumi Haruka agrees, and Claire Libert cautions him not to overwork. His training pays off, preventing him from fainting. 2 days later, the group gets ready to depart, and Takumi Haruka asks Tellura Libert why she is late. Claire Libert presents her blade to Takumi Haruka. Though confident they face no real danger, he agrees carrying steel never hurts as they finally depart for the shop. En route, he tells Leo to calm her excitement. Claire Libert notes how thrilled Leo must feel after strict training kept her cooped up. Smiling at the playful children, Takumi Haruka notices Claire Libert fixing her eyes on him. She playfully adds that she meant him. Flustered by the mix-up, he blushes as she beams right back at him. He asks if his reaction was truly that hilarious. Outside, Sebastian chuckles as he steers the carriage. At last, the carriage arrives at the shop. Guiding Takumi Haruka through town, they lead him to the storefront where their plants will go on sale. On the ground floor sits their new shop. After asking Nicola to keep watch over Leo and Sherry, Takumi Haruka enters to find a new face. The man greets them and introduces himself as Callus, the manager appointed to run the shop. Curious, Takumi Haruka asks how Callus knew him. The manager admits Sebastian briefed him. Callus promises total secrecy regarding his identity. Moving to the back room, Sebastian presents the fresh herbs to Callus. Callus praises the rare quality, amazed to see specimens so pristine. Calling the store staff over, Callus directs them to handle the stock. When Takumi Haruka inquires about the process, Callus explains that each plant will be packaged into individual small boxes for retail sale. Carrying a display table outside the shop, Callus prepares to showcase the herbs publicly, eager to attract buyers for their debut sale. A panicked cry from Callus sends Takumi Haruka rushing out to find him trembling before Leo. Sebastian reminds Callus that he was already warned about Leo. Claire Libert reassures Callus that Leo poses no threat, and Takumi Haruka invites him to pet her soft fur, instantly melting his lingering tension. With the packaged boxes arranged neatly on the display, everything stands ready for eager buyers inside. Takumi Haruka and Claire Libert wait anxiously for their first sales to begin. A loud commotion erupts outside, leaving Takumi Haruka stunned by the massive crowd swarming their storefront. Sebastian praises Callus for brilliant marketing, explaining that drawing neighborhood children to stroke Leo naturally brings their paying parents straight to the counter as well. Stepping outside to check on the storefront, Takumi Haruka hears Callus admit that Leo has drawn far more attention than anyone anticipated. Unaccustomed to such fanfare, Leo hesitates in confusion. Sensing Callus grow uneasy, Takumi Haruka approaches Leo to praise her patience. At his command, Leo unleashes a resonant howl that freezes the excited children in place. Announcing that petting requires an orderly queue, Takumi Haruka lets Callus organize the line, encouraging waiting parents to browse the medicinal herbs. Takumi Haruka watches several busy hours pass in a whirlwind of trade. A child tugs at Takumi Haruka from behind, urgently begging him to follow into the alley. Before following, Takumi Haruka instructs Leo to stay gentle with the children as he is led away. Moments later, the boy leads Takumi Haruka to a shady man who tosses food as payment. The rogue is someone Takumi Haruka faced before. Though Takumi Haruka thought he was locked away, Mac had earned early release on good behavior. Demanding to know why Mac used a child to lure him away, Takumi Haruka receives a vicious sneer. Mac vows revenge for his past humiliation. Baffled by the imagined insult, Takumi Haruka questions the sudden grudge, but Mac furiously bellows that the distant beast will never sense his peril in time to save him. Takumi Haruka quietly grips his hilt as Mac lunges with a short blade. Drawing his blade, he catches a stunned Mac completely off guard. Steel clashes again until Takumi Haruka spots an opening in the stance of Mac to win the duel. Disarmed, the rogue drops to his knees on the ground, held at sword point if he dares move. As Takumi Haruka pauses in thought, Mac seizes the opening and lunges for his dropped blade, only for Leo to burst from the shadows and pin the rogue to the ground. Sebastian and the guards rush in to ensure Takumi Haruka is unhurt. He silently credits his sword training. Glancing at Mac, Sebastian recalls his past arrest. Takumi Haruka explains the cheap trap Mac set for him. Stepping toward Mac, Sebastian asks if he realizes their close ties to the Libert family. Horrified by the revelation, the cornered thug stammers out a denial. Sebastian informs Mac that attacking the household carries an immediate sentence of execution. Terrified, he bolts, but Sebastian warns him not to run. Facing a silver FENRIR, pleading for mercy, Mac claimed he acted in the heat of the moment, leaving Sebastian unsure how to handle him. Stepping in, Takumi Haruka urged Sebastian to forgive Mac, prompting Sebastian to grant the request and free him. Just then, the town guard arrived outside, prompting Sebastian to handle the officers. Returning shortly after, Sebastian informed Claire Libert and Takumi Haruka Haruka that Mac posed no threat because he had never committed serious crimes. Though Mac only made idle threats before, crossing the Libert family meant exile, so Takumi Haruka approached him to ask if Mac truly understood the severe consequences of his actions. Begging for forgiveness, Mac showed remorse, proving to Takumi Haruka that he could behave properly. Quietly, Takumi Haruka asked Claire Libert and Sebastian to let him decide. Both agreed since Takumi Haruka subdued Mac personally. Thanking them, Takumi Haruka recognized that handing Mac to the town guard would only drive him into trouble again. Focusing on future plans, Takumi Haruka asked Callus if the shop had enough staff. Callus admitted he needed help, but hesitated when Takumi Haruka suggested hiring Mac for the job. Instead, Takumi Haruka chose to hire Mac directly to haul plants, allowing Mac to assist Callus at the shop during spare hours between deliveries. Callus questioned if Mac would truly cooperate, but as Takumi Haruka weighed options, Sebastian cut in to declare this oversight was a perfect task for Leo. Once Leo catches a scent, she can track anyone anywhere. Confident in her nose, Leo offered to monitor Mac, who nervously asked whether Takumi Haruka would truly offer employment to a criminal like him. Takumi Haruka confirmed the offer, warning that Leo would hunt him if he fled, scaring Mac into swearing obedience. Callus asked if Takumi Haruka truly meant to hire a thief, wishing to guide Mac onto the right path, Takumi Haruka explained, which reminded Sebastian of his own past. Without explaining, Sebastian watched Takumi Haruka untie Mac, who called Takumi Haruka boss. Following introductions, Takumi Haruka told Mac to work diligently, and Mac readily agreed. Returning to the store, Callus reported that their stock of medicinal herbs had sold out. Startled, Takumi Haruka asked if the town lacked sufficient herbs for everyone. Callus explained that a fraudulent herb merchant set up shop nearby, peddling defective plants under false promises of complete healing effects. Hearing this, Sebastian found it bold for fraudsters to operate inside territory run by the Libert family. Surprised by the reaction, Takumi Haruka listened as Claire Libert explained Sebastian loved punishing rule breakers. Stepping out, Mac provided details on the man selling fake medicine. The merchant hailed from another city with noble backing, and Mac admitted he had recently caused a disturbance inside the fraudulent shop. Thugs had beaten Mac on the spot, warning that an influential aristocrat authorized their sales, and that provoking them again meant defying high nobility directly. Grasping the stakes, Takumi Haruka wondered if a noble truly backed the fraud. Takumi Haruka thanked Mac for the useful tip. Claire Libert joined the discussion, prompting Takumi Haruka to explain the situation, after which Sebastian and Claire Libert resolved to report the entire affair to Duke Eckenhart Libert. They dispatched Nicola to gather intel and report back to Duke Eckenhart Libert. Before Nicola set off, Takumi Haruka gave him 2 herbs to relieve exhaustion. Warning Nicola not to consume both herbs at once, Takumi Haruka turned to Callus, who requested a much larger stock of capwort to combat a spreading illness currently afflicting local citizens. After Takumi Haruka verified the epidemic, Callus confirmed distributing capwort would cure the sick and elevate the prestige of Duke Eckenhart Libert. Sebastian took the order, and Claire Libert took Takumi Haruka to visit an orphanage. En route, Claire Libert voiced deep concern for the orphanage upon learning about the sickness. Takumi Haruka learned that nobles routinely ran orphanages in large towns. The Libert family maintained the home and employed the grown youth, having raised Layla, Gelda, Nicola, and Philip within those orphanage walls from childhood. Arriving at the site, Takumi Haruka noted it resembled a church. Noticing Leo act strangely, Takumi Haruka checked on her as she sensed an uneasy presence within. Claire Libert asked a cleaner for the director, and Martellana stepped out to greet them. Martellana warned that this was a poor time to visit, prompting Claire Libert to ask what happened. The matron explained they bought cheap medicine, but the remedy proved ineffective. Claire Libert asked if the seller claimed ties to influential nobles. Martellana confirmed it, then realized in panic, and nervously asked if the Libert family was the noble patron the shop cited. Denying any connection, Claire Libert vowed swift retribution to protect the Libert family honor, reassuring an apologetic Martellana that falling victim to the cruel fraud was not her fault. Sebastian prioritized aiding the shelter, prompting Claire Libert to ask Takumi Haruka for herbs. Martellana asked about Takumi Haruka, tensing at the FENRIR. Claire Libert introduced Takumi Haruka, assuring Martellana about Leo. Sebastian indicated Claire Libert hid his herb cultivation as both exchanged bows. Stepping inside the orphanage, the grim condition of the sick children shocks everyone. Sebastian confirms the sickness matches the condition of Tellura Libert. Recognizing a severe cold strain, Takumi Haruka consults the group on how to treat it. When Takumi Haruka asks if capwort is needed, Sebastian confirms at once, so Takumi Haruka reassures him that the supply is fully handled. Moving out to the orphanage yard, Takumi Haruka uses herb cultivation on the plants. The resulting remedy recovers most of the children, though a few still remain resting in bed. Everyone thanks Takumi Haruka. He urges even the healthy children to take the remedy as a precaution. Martellana questions why, and Takumi Haruka warns that invisible contagion might already infect her. Sebastian rejoices that the sickness is identified. Claire Libert asks Martellana about local capwort supplies, learning that a mysterious buyer bought up the entire supply across their entire town. Finding out cheap medicine hit the market 2 weeks ago strikes Claire Claire Libert as suspicious. Confronted by suspicious connections, Sebastian and Claire Libert investigate the scheme. The shady remedy arrived 2 weeks ago, right as the sickness broke out. Takumi Haruka asks if the shop planned this outbreak. Claire Libert and Sebastian agree the merchants bought the plants to adulterate them. Sebastian requests leave. Takumi Haruka asks why, so Claire Libert confirms he must assist Nicola with the search, then asks Martellana if they may stay at the church until Sebastian returns. Urging Leo to play, Takumi Haruka smiles. Talura Libert gathers the kids to play with Leo. As the group plays joyfully with Leo, a young girl approaches Takumi Haruka, introducing herself as Militia. She thanks Takumi Haruka for curing her. Though apologizing to the matron, she insists on thanking him personally. Martellana explains to Takumi Haruka that Militia is the oldest orphan. Though usually working outside, she remained at the orphanage to help nurse the others. Militia replies that aiding the orphanage is rewarding since she loves helping people. Claire Libert notes Militia turned down their mansion job offer for that exact reason. Deeply thankful for her upbringing, Militia desires to support others. Takumi Haruka asks Militia what helping people means. Unsure how to answer, she listens as Takumi Haruka mentions selling vegetables as a form of service, asking what work Militia truly wishes to pursue to aid others. Overjoyed that he healed everyone, she laments that she cannot do the same because she lacks formal medical knowledge and the resources to run an orphanage. He assures her that studying solves that problem once she decides on her path. She pauses, shouts doctor, and asks Takumi Haruka to teach her. Panic strikes Takumi Haruka since he knows nothing of actual medical practice. Inquiring about her motive, he learns she was inspired by his rapid cure and the healthy children playing outside. Understanding her wish, he watches her light up with joy as she asks if his lessons can begin at once. Consulting Claire Libert on whether Militia may stay at their mansion, she agrees with one condition. Claire Libert forbids Militia from sharing a bedroom with him. Gladly agreeing, Takumi Haruka reassures Martellana that he is fully willing. Leading her to the backyard, they urge her to keep everything she witnesses strictly confidential, just as the Libert family guards the secret. With herb cultivation, Takumi Haruka grows capwort. Militia stands stunned as Takumi Haruka explains the power until Sebastian arrives. Sebastian offers to brief Militia on the rest, bringing a bright smile to Claire Libert. Within minutes, Militia grasps the entire truth. Asked if she feels confused, Militia denies it, marveling at such remarkable power. She addresses Takumi Haruka as her honored teacher, pledging complete obedience. She vows to study medicine under Takumi Haruka. Deeply uncomfortable with the grand title, Takumi Haruka protests that he lacks qualifications, yet Militia firmly insists that she will always look up to him as her true mentor in life. First addressed as boss and now teacher, Takumi Haruka flinches. The honor feels bizarre. Claire Libert smiles warmly at him. Takumi Haruka looks forward to learning about Militia,